we have organized a new unit of advanced future studies in order to explore a unified theory beyond complex fields. Starting with 12 divisions of Kyoto University, now we are collaborating with almost 15 departments or institutes or centers. In my present talk, I'd like to show you a brief outline of our ongoing research projects. The contents are consisting of 5 subjects and summary. One of 2 important keywords is fractal, which can be represented by this kind of self-nested hierarchical or self-nested patterns, well known in Western science. Another keyword is transfer or analogy, which may be relating to mandala in Eastern world. It is believed that mandala are considered to be analogous to mind process or universe evolutionary processes. If we look at mandala in detail, we can see again self-nested structures just like fractals. It's amazing. In the present talk, I'd like to emphasize the existence of simply 5 principles. Kindly, Professor Tesso the other day suggested me the pronunciation of Necte principles. It corresponds to 5 different steps, starting from negation, expansion, convergence, transfer or analogy, and finally, emergence. Actually, my talk consists of 5 subjects corresponding to this kind of 5 principles. And furthermore, even within the overview, I plan to show you 5 slides relating to 5 principles. Because the world or our thinking way is so-called fractal-like dynamics, I would like to show you this kind of fractal properties in my talk. What is a negation? There have been 2 different kinds of views in order to understand outside world. One is subject-based view directed by Plato or Aristotle. They consider idea or idea in my mind through deduction. They believe through deduction we understand outside world. This is one view. There is another view, mainly oriented by Francis Bacon. It is called object-based view. He considered reality is existing in the outside world. Through induction, we can see something from outside world. But there have been debates between the opposing views over 2,000 years. Of course, there is some possibility in order to integrate these kinds of opposing views. Almost 20 years ago, I developed and proposed so-called self-non-self circulation theory in order to integrate opposing views based on self-non-self circulation. I try to explain very diverse phenomena such as aging, evolution, disease, and so on. This is a sort of expansion of my interests. Furthermore, when I expand my interest to the cognitive process, self-non-self circulation can be replaced by subject-object interactions. Through this circular relationship, we may see or realize outside world based on internal world image. Here, please remind, this is self-nested hierarchical patterns or dynamics. Now consider about convergence. Actually, I'd like to show you, this is a conclusion, but in order to get conclusion, we are using these principles. It is a sort of dilemma, as I show you this kind of picture. So there must be some analogous situation between outside world evolutionary phenomena and learning phenomena within us. It leads to some analogous situation. We go to fourth step, transfer or analogy or abduction. Actually, this is a roadmap of our research unit starting from 2015. Interestingly, this kind of evolutionary change of our interest or subject looks like evolutionary trees of biological organisms. Such analogy or such thing is relating to transference or transfer between seemingly quite different dynamics. And please look at individual subject. You may see starting from multi, cross, inter, and transdisciplinary subject or studies, which may be roughly drawn in this way. And interesting thing is starting from negation, expansion, convergence, and transference, and emergence. We can design or make some image about such different principles. And then if we start another negation, another spiral starts forever. As a result of this cyclical situation, new sciences emerge. This is overview. Now get into each principles in detail. Let us think about expansion based on the observation of complex diverse phenomena. This is a famous figure drawn by Charles Darwin in the book Origin of Species. What is negation? Darwin mentioned there is a possibility of mutation. As a mutation, there are different kinds of variability at the level of organisms. It means a sort of expansion. What is convergence? When a particular environment confronts with existing variable organisms, environment select some of the organisms. As a result, it shows the emergence of new species. there is no transfer in this diagram. This is important. But Darwin originally considered this kind of diagram at the level of artificial thing. I mean, he was observing cultivated plants or domestic animals. So this is the reason why he mentioned this is artificial selection. But he suddenly realized the same selection also is possible at the level of natural world. This is the reason why Darwin called the selection as natural selection. Such big jump is just transference or transfer or abduction because of serendipity. Actually, in the Darwin's theory, evolution can be occurring continuously or gradually, as can be shown by this gradual branching patterns. There is another evolutionist named Lamarck. He considered and believed the existence of inheritance of acquired character. Interestingly and surprisingly, this acquired inheritance of acquired character was now convinced, at least at the level of unicellular organisms. Bacteria, a new kind of bacteria suddenly appeared, changed, and disappeared. Why? Because of horizontal transference of genetic genes due to direct interactions among various bacteria. As a result, evolutionary tree looks like networks, as I showed before. If we are looking at our bodies, there are two different kinds of cells. One is dividing cells, like skin, livers. The other one is non-dividing cells, such as muscles or neurons. What is negation? Negation is always occur at any level due to mutation. You can see expansion here. What is convergence? Differentiation into a particular cell type, such as muscle. This is convergence. What is transfer? Many cells can communicate with each other through molecules, hormones, or electric signals. And interestingly, please look at inside the cell. You can see intracellular dynamics, which is analogous to extracellular or intercellular dynamics. We can see, again, fractal nature. If we are looking at, in detail, a particular cell, you can see, again, here, four different principles. Consider about evolution of philosophy. As I mentioned before, deduction and induction are very important. After Hegel and Marx suggested the importance of dialectic relating to negation, it is an important first principle. And in 19th century, Charles Peirce introduced the importance of abduction as a new logic. Now you can see four different principles are coexisting. And finally, what is emergence? Emergence means the evolution of sciences or evolution of ourselves. Looks similar. So now go into the 5 principles. As we now realized, 5 principles can be observed during evolutionary processes. In addition, similar 5 principles can be applying during our learning or understanding processes leading to emergence. Emergence here means understanding of new things. Therefore, let us think about this situation. We can see fractal nature outside world and also inside us. And in addition, not only static patterns, but also dynamic behavior can be also leads to fractal nature. And learning also working at this kind of fractal dynamics. And if we introduce negation and abduction, we can change internal world image. As a result, we can understand new perspective or new things existing at the level of outside world. This is leading to new discovery. And also, through induction, we are understanding what is object, or through deduction, we are trying to pray how we understand the object. So as time proceeds, the situation is looks like spiral patterns. As a result, emergence occurs. It means that we can see something new perspective in the future. Then, from the future perspective, we can now understand why we are doing something now. This is meta deduction. And from the past and present way we are thinking, induction. This is new dimension in addition to the original one. Now let's go into the 4th principle, transfer. 5 principles may be applicable everywhere. For instance, let us think about drawing picture. Beginners generally try to draw picture by using pencil and adding lines. The result is simple because of lack of negation. Starting from gray background, using eraser, this is paradox. Using eraser, which leads to appearance of object. So using 5 principles, the result is quite different from the other one. Or if we are looking at athletes' performance, this is a film recorded in 1968. Many athletes showed us very low high jump, except for Dick Fosbury. He revolutionarily created completely new jump. It is starting based on negation. And after many trial and errors, it is relating to expansion. finally he get the good jump at the convergence. Transfer means if this kind of attitude into the new situation, he got finally Olympic records. Emergence is the results are coming outside, coming from all these principles. I'm using the same principles in my class. Students suddenly change and start to learn how to learn. Generally, we are thinking about learning is learning something, knowledge or something present, but learning how to learn is very important. Now going into emerging fractal dynamics. As we already know, self-non-self circulation leads to spiral-like patterns. As a result, meta-level new dimension of deduction and induction are appearing, but at this time, new kind of spiral appears in this direction. Again, we may have deduction and induction. Originally, this is evolution, and the emerging axis is meta-evolution, and so on. This means that starting only from simple relationship, we may have infinite fractal nature. What is negation? Negation is represented by the emergence of quite new spirals. If they are crossing each other, there is a possibility to emerge. And of course, we may have new dimensions of deduction and induction. This is transfer or abduction. So if each spiral is represented by a circle, starting from negation, it can divide into opposition, which is relating to expansion. And such diverse system can be reintegrated into a unity. This is conversion. But it can divide again and again, leading to very complex future. Important point is underlying principle is the same and very simple, but the emergent patterns are so complex. We can put negation, expansion, conversion, transfer, and finally, emergence. Emergence means emerging whole. This whole is similar to the original one, but this is not the whole enough. We are missing the other one. This is a kind of right side world. This is left side world. So starting from unit, it can be shown like this, just like mandala or fractal structures. Now let's go into summary. As we experienced through evolution, you understand how evolution occurs based on evolutionary principles. Learning is just like evolution based on self-non-self circulation. And it looks like fractal nature, which is very similar to single cell dynamics. And what are the 5 principles? It is represented by negation, expansion, and so on. These are the principles, not only the perceiving subject principles, but also the observed or perceived object principles, which may be relating to different kinds of mandala. Learning and evolution look different, but essentially the same. How can we get such 5 principles? Generally, our brain is asymmetry. Left side is logical thinking or verbal communication, whereas right side is movement, musical instrument, and so on. What we need is integrating both sides of our brain. In addition, we should realize the evolutionary processes in the history, starting from fish. There are 4 different layers relating to reflection, instinct, emotion, and thought. We generally consider thought is very important, but it's not good enough. Actually, when we try to be understanding level, understanding means in Japanese, satori. And starting from mushin is no mind. Mindfulness, focus, attention, compassion. Compassion is transfer passion to the other one. Interestingly, these 5 dynamics are relating to 5 principles. This is the final slide. My message is as follows. Despite intensive development of science and technology, we have not yet solved emerging problems at all. Ironically speaking, even though we are trying to solve emerging problems, such attitudes cause another problems forever. So there must be something wrong about our scientific attitudes. This is the ideal case, and these are visible problems or orders, and this is consciousness, personal unconsciousness, and collective unconsciousness. And I believe there is spirituality must be incorporated. Spirituality is only developed based on 5 principles. Generally, without spirituality, many individuals and societies show or generate emerging problems, and many people try to solve visible problems. This is a problem. Instead of try to solve visible problems, we have to establish spirituality based on 5 principles like this. Then problems were not solved, but instead disappeared. This is a new method and new message from my talk. Thank you very much for your attention.